Jota could be on his way to Saudi Arabia. Aaron Mooy retires but is immediately replaced by another Australian, and that home kit. Let's get into it. How you doing, everyone? So it's fair to say that June was a hectic month in the life of Celtic fans. Anyone who thought they were going to get a break from it were absolutely wrong. We've had the departure of Ange Postecoglou to Spurs, the return of Brendan Rodgers to the club. Jota could be on his way out of the club. Aaron Mooy has retired, and we've released probably the worst home kit in my memory anyway. We'll start with the Jota news because that is what's going on in the news right now. So this story emerged in the Saudi publications, but the likes of Stephen McGowan and Anthony Joseph are reporting on it as well. The Saudi club Al-Ittihad are in talks to sign Jota for a fee that's somewhere in the range of 20 to 25 million pounds. Now Benfica would be entitled to 30% of that sell-on fee, so if Celtic got 25 million pounds, 30% of that would go to Benfica, and Celtic would end up with around 17.5 million. Yeah, I think that's right. Look, so there are several sides of this story that I want to cover. The first is the question of ambition. And for this, there's two ways of looking at it from my perspective. Jota is going to a growing league. Al-Ittihad have a stadium that holds over 60,000 people. And he'd be going to play with the likes of Karim Benzema and N'Golo Kante, who have also signed for Al-Ittihad. There is so much money in the Saudi league right now that it is entirely possible and probable that the Saudis will continue to outbid Premier League clubs for players, continuously start bringing in younger players, like Jota is a primary example of this, and it could potentially become the powerhouse of world football. Potentially. The other way of looking at it is that this may not last. Jota could be going to a club that nobody really watches, no other clubs are really monitoring, has no access to the Champions League, and therefore his hopes of getting an even bigger move if he continues to develop in the way that he is developing, and his chances of playing for Portugal in the future are diminished as well. I think I would fall on that spectrum, if I'm honest. I think we're still a little bit early into the infancy of this Saudi league and them starting to bid on European players. And to be honest, this looks like an agent's work. Agents are starting to get involved in the Saudi league more and more. That's where the money is. And honestly, that's the only reason I can see why this story started to, snowball as it did, as quickly as it did. I would be disappointed to see him go. He's a great player and seems like a genuinely good kid. So to see him probably park his career to a certain extent at 24 and head to a questionable league in a country that has questionable human rights issues, then it would be disappointing on a personal level. But again, I'd be putting my own beliefs onto Jota. But let's talk about this from a purely financial standpoint at the minute. Take all the romance out of it, take all the joy that Jota brought onto the pitch out of it. This would be a good deal for Celtic. Remember, Ange built a squad for around about £20 million the last time round, so £17 million would go a long way to replacing Jota with good attacking talent that are a little bit more powerful and maybe a bit better on the defensive side of things, which is what Brendan Rodgers alluded to in the fan press conference. So if he does go, we wish him well, but like everything, players come and go, Celtic remains, and this would be a good deal for Celtic. It would also be a good deal on a financial standpoint for Jota. Apparently he'd be getting paid $195,000 a week. That's insane money. He'd be insane to not really go for that in terms of finances. But as I said, from a football standpoint, I'm still a little bit romantic about things. I think Europe and possibly South America are the two main powerhouses of world football right now. Saudi might replace that soon enough. But for me, I think it's a step down in terms of his future in world football. And I think he would be damaging his football career, at least in the short term. Before I get to the Aaron Mooy news, there has been an influx of subscribers over the last month. Thank you so much to everybody who has subscribed. If you're not subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button below. It's really appreciated. Now then, on to Australian news. Aaron Mooy has retired from football with immediate effect. This has been a hugely difficult decision, but I feel like this is the right time for the next generation to be given an opportunity to experience international football. I am delighted to finish my career with such a high with Celtic, and I would like to thank all the fans for the great support they gave me over the past year. I was delighted to be part of such a memorable season. So that was what Aaron Mooy said in his retirement. Full retirement statement is on the Celtic website. On Aaron Mooy as a Celtic player, I was as surprised as anybody with how well he played last season. I always liked Mooy as a player, but I did have my concerns about his fitness and about his pace, especially in an Ange Postecoglou team, but he turned out to be brilliant. He was a really important player last season, especially with all the changes and injuries in the midfield. He came in and he was pivotal in some of the games, brought a real creative spark as well, brought calmness in the midfield. And I think he was just the Aaron Mooy that peaked probably with Huddersfield, except a little bit more experienced, and he stood out as a really top quality player. So, I mean, it's hard to know if Celtic will look to replace him in the midfield, given that they do have quite a number of options still there, even if he does depart. But he was a great addition while he was there, and a really shrewd bit of business for Celtic to bring him in the first place. It was a risk, but it was a risk that paid off, and they are the best ones. Fear not, Australian fans, because when one Aussie leaves Celtic, another one arrives. Celtic confirms the signing of Marco Tilio from Melbourne City. Tilio has joined the club on a 5-year deal. At just 21 years old, he has scored 18 goals in the A-League in under 80 matches and is said to be one of the top Australian talents. I haven't seen him play. I'm not going to pretend that I've seen him play. I've watched a couple of YouTube videos, as you do when Celtic sign a player, and he looks really positive. Stuart Ross did a deep dive on him for the Celtic Way, which details what kind of profile he is. In short, he's not very tall, coming in at about 5'7". He likes to dribble with the ball, about 6.9 per 90 minutes. He's not a big crosser of the ball. He likes to shoot, and he likes to shoot a lot, attempting about 2.57 per 90 minutes. It doesn't sound like a lot, but that is a lot. And he likes to get in the box as well. He honestly sounds a little bit like Lilabada, who also could be leaving. So do with that information as you will. And finally, to the shirt. That goddamn shirt. Look, I love football jerseys. I know that they're not everyone's cup of tea, and some people find the discussion around them quite boring. But honestly, what is that? It is atrocious. Celtic say that it is a progressive and modern twist on the traditional hoops with elements of the glass pattern from the original entrance to Celtic Park. Marketing bollocks. I'm very traditional, especially when it comes to the Celtic home kit, and the hoops should not be messed with. Last year was just about passable for me. 2015 was a travesty. 2014 was worse, and do not get me started on the 2012 jersey when they changed the colour of the hoops. But I think this might be one of the worst, if not the worst, that Celtic have had in the modern era. I might be being dramatic, but that's just how I feel. And on that note, that's where I will park the video for this week. Like I said, I'm hopefully going to be doing a little bit more of this face-to-camera stuff now that I'm settled back in Dublin after a hectic couple of months. What do you think of all the topics discussed? Let me know in the comments. What do you think of Jota leaving the club? What do you think of the new home kit? And are you interested in Marco Tilio? Have you seen Marco Tilio play? Let me know what he's like in the comments below. And do not forget to like and subscribe the video. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you next time. Good luck.